I had a professor in college. He was my physics professor, which is not the most likely subject for me to love. But he was fantastic, Sheridan Simon. And I actually write about Sheridan in all my books in some iteration or another. But Sheridan was this brilliant lecturer about stuff that I really didn't care that much about. But it was fantastic to be in his class, and I learned so much from him. But I remember I was in touch with him for years after I finished college, and he would tell me about going in and giving the lecture of his career, just knowing that every single thing went right, and he was getting kids so excited about astronomy or whatever they were studying, and that what he hated was when he would finish this fantastic lecture that even he knew he'd gotten an A+ on, that inevitably somebody would raise their hand and he'd be so excited because they're really into it and they wanted to know more. And he would call on the student would say, "Is this going to be on the test?" And it would just kill him. He hated the idea that there was such a lack of curiosity. Like, why wouldn't you just want to know this? And so a lot of this book is centered around this idea of being curious, staying curious, learning something new every day. There are really two things that my kids say, that the only two things that they say that I can't stand. And one of them is, "I don't care." I hate that. Like, why don't you care? Why aren't you like waking up caring? But the other one that has to do with this chapter is, "I'm bored." Boredom is such a selfish act. I don't know how people get bored. There's so much, like, do we know everything that we see around us? Do we know about it? I don't think so. And I'm reminded when I was about 10 years ago, I guess, I was giving a lecture in Melbourne, Australia. And Charles Hampden Turner, who's from the Judge Institute at Cambridge, was the opening speaker, and I was the closing keynote. And I adored this man from afar. I thought he is the smartest, most amazing writer and thinker I've ever heard of. And so I was thrilled to be on the same program with him, and a little terrified at the same time. And I was to do a breakout session, and I got up to speak in this breakout session, and who was in the audience but Charles Hampden Turner, who had written at that time, I think, 20 books. He was and is my intellectual mentor. And I thought, that's fantastic. Here's this man who really, I think, has nothing to learn from me, but he is still so curious and so much wanting to learn something every day that here he sits. And so those are two models of the kinds of curiosity that I'm talking about.